So, I was recently asked by a friend on why I switched from the Blackmagic 6K Pro to the Fujifilm XH2S. And I love both cameras a lot. There's definitely some pros and cons like anything. I have used Blackmagic, Canon, Sony, and I think in terms of my workflow and the jobs that I do, Fujifilm makes the best sense. And honestly, I think we should, with the topic of does gear matter? Yes, it does, but no, it doesn't. But I think we should flip the question on not about the gear, but the job. Like the job should matter. So what you do with your videos and your content or whatever will dictate on what gear you'll use. So to be really boring and nerdy about this shit, one thing I really like about the Fuji is the size, obviously. Like the Blackmagic is massive, even though it says Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera. And yes, it is tiny compared to the other things, but it's not as tiny as this, which is even smaller if I got rid of the Cineback. A really small camera, and obviously trying to compete with the Blackmagic, it's kind of hard. Again, it really depends on what you do. Everyone raves about the Blackmagic, the ability to shoot great footage with it. And for me, after using Blackmagic Raw, this does the job, even though it only shoots ProRes only, because Blackmagic also shoot ProRes. After shooting with F-Log2 ProRes system, so easy on a computer, especially to have like a 6-year-old computer, spec'd out, but it can't even handle H.265 footage. So that's why I really like the ProRes, and that's why I also really like the Blackmagic Raw. That's one of the benefits from this, is that it shoots internal ProRes for the size, and I can build it up if I want to, like with the Cineback here, a bunch of mounting points. If I'm the DP and I'm going to be using XH2S, I have option for mounting stuff and all that stuff. I'm gonna be building this so that you can kind of check this out. I love building this for some reason. One of the best things about this, I know Blackmagic recently had an update, but this camera has autofocus. So I usually run a lot of one-man jobs, and it's not the greatest autofocus system, but better than nothing. So better than not having an autofocus like Blackmagic. And again, for the size of it, you can kind of handle this as a one-man. When I was using the Blackmagic, it was massive, and of course the screen is amazing, but I don't know, I think it's just the fact that it's also like a rectangular shape, not like a box shape, makes it really difficult to hold and use. That's all really personal taste. I know a lot of people that use Blackmagic and love that ergonomics. It's kind of tricky building this with no table, but I'm gonna leave the wires off. Imagine a blue HDMI cord and power running on it, and this pretty much would be the full setup for this camera. I got a monitor here, which is also a transceiver and a receiver, the Holly Landmark M1. And I have like a second monitor that can receive the footage there. And with that, I can just give it to the direct client they need to if they want to see footage while I'm shooting. So again, like that kind of thing with the Blackmagic, it's just literally the size and the files that I really love about the Fujifilm. And also, I think Blackmagic and Fujifilm has one of the easiest files that I've ever used to color. One thing I like about video is that I really like to color, and I kind of figure out how to color as of recently, at least my coloring, like my taste and stuff. And the Blackmagic Raw and the Fujifilm ProRes F-Log2 has been the easiest files to work with. I can really just push and pull files without really breaking. And when I was using Canon, I wasn't really a big fan of how the colors were rendering. And same thing with Sony. It's all preference, to be honest. All these cameras are great. Canon back then, for me, what I heard was Canon was known for its color science. But after shooting with Fujifilm for a while, I think like for me, it's just so personal taste in my opinion. I wanted to make this video because I feel like there's just a lot of new cameras coming out, new gear coming out. And when I was jumping ship from Canon, Sony, back to Canon, then Fujifilm, obviously Blackmagic as well, one thing that was really annoying was that every time I switched camera systems, it was a different problem that will also come up. So switching from Canon 5D Mark III to like the Sony system, I didn't like the Sony for how easily the video is just kind of destroyed. And then when I went back to Canon, I had the R6 Mark II, or I think it's just the Mark I. But one, it was shooting H.265, and my laptop couldn't even handle it. So now I have to think about keeping the Canon R6 or getting a new laptop so that I can render the H.265 files easier. And obviously I didn't do that. And I know I could have done the proxy workflow, but at that time I didn't want to use proxies because it takes at least an hour or two just to render proxies, right? So one cool thing, sorry, just to pop up again. One cool thing about this camera that if your computer can't handle like the ProRes HQ, ProRes LT, or 422, you can directly record proxies in here. So you already have proxies on file. That's why like I think like XH2S is such an underrated like cinema camera. Even though it's also a great stills camera, the XH2S is just, I know it's been like what, 4 years now. There's new cameras coming out. Nikon Z whatever shoots Nikon Red RAW, like the Panasonic stuff. But again, going back to that topic of jumping systems, you now have to worry about if one, your computer can handle it, all the memory cards that you've gathered can be used in that, you know. This intakes CFast Express Type B. All the Sony cameras only CFast Type A, and everything is just so expensive. So I think just sticking to one system and really learning it, and now I wouldn't say master it because there's always room for improvement, but once you kind of figure out how your camera, your equipment works, I think you can use it for a long time. And I've had this for a while now. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this video. So peace.